Hello, everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and this is Hangout number 139. Okay, welcome everybody. If you're new to a Hangout, hey, this is where I talk about things in the news. I talk about cases that I can't do a full show on, and people say, "Hey, what about this, Pat?" So I have a whole lineup tonight, and as usual, I get a lot of recommendations, and I want to welcome everybody who is in the chat room. I think I've said hello to everybody who's there, although I might have missed somebody who just came in. Let's see. Linda just came in. Oh, welcome, Linda. That's fantastic. I thought this was supposed to be ad-free. Why would there be ads? It's a live. It's an unlisted live. How the heck could there be ads on it? That's impossible. Okay. Is anybody else seeing ads? No. Let me tell you about ads. Generally speaking, when I do a show, and it's on, and I put it up on YouTube, after I finish this show, which is unlisted, it will become public. And if you go to YouTube and you watch any of my public shows, if you haven't paid to get rid of the ads, you will get the ads. And it's a good thing for me because ads support channels. People who pay, like myself, to get rid of ads, YouTubers do get a piece of the money that they get from people canceling ads. So we get a little bit, but I don't think we get as much as if people actually see the stupid ads. But that's the way it works. So there should be no ads. Yes, ads for bras? What the? What? Now my sound is bad. What the heck is going on here? Seriously? Okay, how about this? Am I closer? What the heck is going on tonight? This is weird. I got ads for boots. What? This is a live show. How can you get ads during a live show and it's not even listed? Yeah, that's what I pay. Wait a minute, where is it? Sorry, with 6-inch heels. Wait a minute. Okay, hold on a second. I want premium to escape the ads. I pay for that, and I do it for a number of reasons. One is that, of course, I do a lot. I don't spend a lot of time watching YouTube the way I hope other people do, like with my show. But I do watch YouTube for documentaries when I need to find out what has been said, some news stuff. So yes, I don't want to waste my time with ads. So I pay the premium because that's my work. And it's just annoying. So I have some streaming services that I don't pay for the extra to get rid of the ads. And then when the ads come up, I'm watching a movie, the ads come up, I go do something else like, work. And, so can you hear me now? And you're getting, what the heck now you're getting makeup ads. I don't understand that because, it's live. So I don't understand how you can get any ads, because if you get ads, then how can you see the show when it's live? What? I am totally confused. I've never heard that before. Just no clue. Okay. Well, I hope you get to watch the show and don't disappear to ad land. But if you'd like to be with these folks wondering what the heck is going on and with me, please do click on the link below and join Patreon. That's the one it's great support for the channel. I have 8 lives per month. I have a hangout every week, and then the live show on the weekends, a case show. And so there's 2 shows a week, which are patron only. That keeps it lovely, because I know most of everybody here. I'm like, hi, Rocco. Hi, Kathleen. I know people, and it's really cool. They're like my friends. And but once I finish the live show, it usually takes about a week, but I put it public for everyone because I want everyone to be able to see the shows. So that's that. Okay. Go figure. Anyway, let me get to stuff. Just as an opener, I've got so many case things to talk about. But before I do, this just made me laugh because Deception Detective, who I've been pretty pleased with, by the way. Deception Detective does statement analysis like Peter Hyatt, but of a different style. And he's one of the YouTubers I like. And some people think I'm kind of mean towards certain YouTubers, but it's because I like educational stuff. And I don't care if they're making way more money than me, which Deception Detective probably is. Well, he is. And he's going to, because people love hearing about how people are being deceptive. And he's got a very good show. And so, bully for him. I like him. And I like his show. And he put this up, and it just cracked me up. Dark sense of humor can be dementia warning sign. And if anybody's watched my channel, I have a terribly dark sense of humor, which some people don't like at all. And they get, Pat Brown, how could you laugh at such a terrible thing? And I'm like, I don't know. It just struck me funny, and it made me laugh. And I've laughed hysterically on this show over things that are quite terrible. And so I guess I'm going to get dementia. I also, by the way, don't sleep well. I'm up half the night, so that's another problem. And, I can't remember a dang thing from my childhood. So when I get dementia, I won't even remember my childhood, which really sucks. And let's see what else. Oh, I put this up earlier that if you pick your nose, that gives you dementia too, because they did a mouse study for, and I'm like, how did they get a study of mice picking their noses that give them dementia? But anyway, don't get dementia. I've given up. Every day there's a new dementia cause, and I think I've got like 50 of them. So I'm just doomed. But it made me laugh. Sarah, who was really Sarah, Alex. Yeah, only if you eat them. Yeah, that is so gross. We have teenage humor here. Okay. Now, one other thing you have been asking me about, you're all asking me about the cat. So if you don't know about the cat is, I was trying to feed my daughter's cat one day because it came into my house, a little black cat. It's the only cat around now. My cat, Ziggy, died, and she's down to one cat. So this little cat seemed to want to get away from the dog. So I wanted to get in my house one day. So I let her in, and I fed Kitty a little food. And then later on, the next day, I noticed that Kitty came back and ate the rest of the food. And so I put some more down for her, thinking maybe she wants a respite from the other house next door. And I'm sitting here doing the show, and I look over, and there's a tabby cat standing there. And I'm like, not my cat and not my daughter's cat. So the cat keeps coming in, and we've determined it is a stray. It lives around the area, and there's a lot of barns here and places where probably a lot of mice. So it doesn't look not like it isn't eating, but it loves to come in at night and eat. So I took the bowl of food and kept moving it from the cat near the cat door, which I left open now, and I keep moving it. I moved it toward my bedroom, and it's the cat is very, very scared. And so it finally got to my bedroom door, and it ate. And then as soon as I moved my hand, it would like tear out of there. So I've been working trying to get the cat closer to me and more used to me. So I now got the cat here. So now you see I'm sitting there in my bed, and the cat is now on the corner of the carpet thing there. And last night, the cat got this close to me. Woo! And he didn't, or she didn't, because I don't know what it is, run as fast as previously. So maybe he's getting a little more used to me. And people say, what have you named the cat? Now that it apparently is your cat, even though it actually isn't my cat officially. And but I've named it Mackerel because it's a mackerel tabby. So I'm going to call it Mac, although I don't know if it's male or female. So there you have my cat. And I want to thank Sky Ricky, because I got this today from Sky Ricky. I'll catch up with you later on the rest of it. And this envelope said meow, and she sent me this wonderful cat thing and a little bit of money to support my cat and the channel. I don't know which one, but the cat, my mackerel cat, appreciates it. So do I, and so does the channel. Thank you. That's just awesome. That's just so sweet. Now I guess I have to keep feeding the cat. Oh my, I didn't want another cat. I really didn't want another cat. Oh, keep the cat door open at night, and eventually raccoons will be joining you for dinner. Anybody who knows me knows that when I lived in my old house, I had 5 raccoons in my house that came through the cat door. I have videos of them standing on the table eating food the cat food. I have one of them fell asleep on the dish joiner. I mean, I know raccoons really well. In this house that I'm in, we've only had one major raccoon, and she went and killed all my daughter's chickens. So, and I did catch that raccoon, and the animal control people said that we had to kill it or release it on our own property. We weren't allowed to move the raccoon. And I don't know, but that raccoon disappeared one night to another location, undisclosed location. We don't know how that happened. Oh, is that right? Everyone knows the cat picks its owner. Yeah, it's called a Sucker, sucker. All right. Oh, thank you. You're the best. You're just the best. Okay, wait a minute. Yeah, I know the rabies thing. Yeah, but none of my raccoons have had rabies. Raccoons, oh no, they do carry rabies, and they're sassy. Some of them are just adorable. But I never could do. I never did fight the raccoons in my old house. And we had a renter one day that came in, and he's like, my son and I were sitting there in the living room, and he's like, "Oh my God, I saw a raccoon on the cat food table." And both of us went, "Yeah." He didn't like that answer. I do not have a cat. I have a cat who comes in. I don't know that it is my cat yet, even though I have named it. Well, anyway, so that's the cat story you have all been asking about. Now, I want to mention this. The guy who came out a while back called himself the Foreign Detective. He's got a new book that came out today on Madeleine McCann. It's an 800-page book. And I put up a video because it came out in this mask. I thought it was ridiculous. I thought it was a bad publicity stunt. And so I commented on it, and he contacted me. And so he's actually sending me his book, and I actually kind of like the dude. Anyway, so tomorrow morning when you wake up, you will find there's a video. I just finished it. And it's an apology video to the Foreign Detective. Not that I necessarily agree with his theories, but I kind of like the guy. If I ever go to Portugal, we're going to go out and have beer together. He responded really well to my my video, which I was really impressed by him for that reason. I'm like, give him some credit there. So that will come out. I've already done the video. I'm just going to probably put it out tomorrow. No, I don't know why he did the disguise. I think it was a publicity stunt. I think the idea was to catch people's attention, and maybe he was right. Maybe it did work. He's come out without his getup on. I know who he is now. He gave me his name. I know exactly who he is. And it's funny. We had conversations like number of years ago, but I didn't remember him. And he was like, "Hey, yeah, we had these conversations." And I'm like, "We did?" And then I looked back on my emails, and yeah, we did. So he was right. But I just didn't remember. I'm looking forward. He's sending me the book, and I'm looking forward to it. But you have to watch the video come out tomorrow. Because I got to credit the guy, because he was really nice about the way he approached me and talked to me. I was really impressed. I mean, I don't know that I'm going to agree with him, because he thinks that Madeleine McCann died on May 2nd, and I think it was the 3rd, like Amaral. So, but again, opinions differ, and perhaps, he might be right. But I don't know why he did this, guys. I think it was just publicity. Maybe he was correct at work, but it didn't sit well with me, and that's why it set me off, because I don't like it when people do stuff like that. It takes away, in my opinion, my trust in them. But so be it. So be it. So check that out tomorrow. I want to mention this. Somebody sent me this information. I thought this was really interesting. I did a show on the Dermonds, Russell and Shirley Dermond. It was a horrific case. Hold on a second. What in the world? Sorry. It's the iPad problem already. I don't have all this crap. Let me find the Dermonds. Here we go. The Dermonds. It was an absolutely horrific crime, and I did do a whole show on that. And it says now this is the I'm going to talk about cold cases now. Decade-old Dermond murder may be solved by new DNA evidence. Now, I've pointed out that almost all cold cases, and this is where Ken Maines and I got into it, are solved by DNA. Occasionally they're solved by a deathbed confession, or somebody digs up their garden and finds out that the previous owner buried his wife there, that kind of thing. But rarely is it solved. Even if you're a great profiler, a great detective, and you go through all the stuff and you say, oh my God, all the evidence points to this person. It depends what you call solve. I can say in my mind I solved the case, but since it's never going to be prosecuted, no one's ever going to be arrested, the case will remain unsolved officially and a cold case. So here we have DNA evidence. Now, let me tell you about this case. It was horrific. Shirley and Russell Dermond were killed. They lived on a lake Oconee, Ocone. They were murdered 10 years ago. Now, what happened? They sent some clothing from the crime scene to labs in Texas, and he said the labs found DNA that did not belong to the couple. I'm excited about this. I have no problem with DNA finding somebody. My God, if that's the way, we need it. After things go cold, we need DNA because it's so hard to prove anything. When years go by, you can't go back and get, oh, look, I went to their house and I found the shoes that match the scene. They already get threw those shoes away. You can't say anything from the scene may be just gone. They might have just gotten rid of it over 10 years worth of time. So it was a horrible case. And what happened? Let's tell you what happened. In 2014, Russell Dermond was found dead in his carport of his home in the Greater Waters subdivision of Lake Oconee. His head was severed from his body. His wife, Shirley, was located 10 days later. Someone had tossed her body into the lake miles away. Concrete blocks weighed her down. 10 years later, they think they had few leads. They have no idea who did it. And now they've got some DNA. I do not think it was family related. I'll link the show below. I think it's a very strange case, but I think there were two people involved, and probably not the brightest people, but they got away with it. And for the reasons they did it, I think was just probably that they had an idea for a crime and it didn't go right. And a lot of people don't understand that that's what can happen. Things aren't always, they're not necessarily bright people that commit crimes, and therefore, you can't understand them because you think, well, that doesn't make sense. Well, it doesn't make sense because they weren't that smart, but they got away with it because for whatever reasons, it wasn't able to be linked back to them. Now, let me talk about a couple more cases. Because after I said, if you have any cases that cold cases that you can say, people like myself, Ken Maines, anybody else, can solve as opposed to educate. I don't have any problem with Ken Maines or anyone else analyzing a crime. That's what I do on my show every week. I analyze crimes and say, here's what I think. But I don't call myself a crime solver at this point in time because I'm not working with the police department. I'm not on the cold case squad, and it's way too late to solve most of these crimes outside of DNA, a deathbed confession, or the body being dug up under somebody's garden, something like that. So let's look at another case. Let's look at this case. Somebody just sent this over to me. This is a case from 1975, and this person sent this to me, and she said, look, this guy on the right, he's 83 years old. He's been charged with her murder. See, cold cases get solved without DNA. All right, how did this case get solved without DNA? Her little girl's name is Gretchen Harrington. She was walking to summer Bible camp in a Philadelphia suburb. Former pastor, this creep, David Zanstra, been charged with her murder. 83 years old. By the way, if it takes you 50 years to solve the crime, I don't consider that a success. An 83-year-old person gets charged with a crime, whether they go to assisted living, a nursing home, or a jail, a prison. I don't know that it makes that much sense at that point because, quite frankly, at that point, probably all those three of those are prisons. So I don't know that I really give a crap. So anyway, where is that story? Okay, hold on a second. Let me find it. I've got too much stuff open here. I accidentally opened up a bunch of extra stuff so I can confuse myself. I'm really good at that. So I'm getting rid of all the extra junk so I can see what I'm looking at. All right. Okay, where is it? Jeez, what in the heck did I open up? My goodness, this is insane. Okay, here we go. All right. A former pastor is charged with murdering an 8-year-old girl nearly 50 years ago. How was he finally charged? On the morning of August 15, 1975, Gretchen left her home to walk to summer Bible camp and she disappeared. 2 months later, her skeletal remains were found in nearby Ridley Creek State Park, and the crime went unsolved. The police now believe. Now, here's also another word. Believe is not a good word. I believe I know who committed a lot of crimes. Believing and proving are two different things. Just saying. Believe they know who killed her. They announced they've arrested former pastor David Zanstra, 83, for Harrington's murder. Now, the reason they do have him is this, and I'm going to look for the backstory on this. Zanstra admitted to killing Harrington and is currently being held in jail. All right. Let's see. He was charged with criminal homicide, first-degree murder, blah, 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 blah. Okay. The killing nearly 48 years ago stumped investigators for decades and cast a pall over the small town community in suburban Philadelphia. Now, did it entirely confound the investigators? They say this a lot of times when they actually think they know who did it, but they can't bring charges and they don't have proof. And so a lot of times you say, oh my God, they had no idea, but maybe they did. Okay. In January of this year, investigators said they interviewed a source who was best friends with Zanstra's daughter and who would often sleep over at the family's home. She told investigators that during a sleepover when she was 10, she woke up to Zanstra groping her groin area. The source said she told Zanstra's daughter, who replied that her father sometimes did that. The source also said she remembered that a girl in her class was nearly kidnapped twice and wrote in her diary in 1975 that she suspected Zanstra was the likely kidnapper. The summer Bible camp Harrington was attending took place on the grounds of 2 nearby churches. Harrington's father was the pastor of one church and Zanstra was the pastor of the other church. Wow. Fellow pastor. That's kind of sick. All right. So they went and they interviewed him. So I don't know how much of this information they actually knew earlier, but couldn't get anywhere with it, or whether this suddenly just popped out of the woodwork. At first, Zanstra denied knowing what happened to Harrington, but investigators say he later admitted to offering her a ride and taking her to a nearby wooded area. He asked Harrington to take her clothes off. She refused. He punched her in the head, causing her to bleed. He left her body in the woods and fled the scene. They also interviewed him in 1975. But the then pastor denied seeing Harrington on the day she was abducted. So now they're saying they're taking a DNA sample from him and seeing if it matches anything else out there. Now, they knew who he was in 1975. Probably just couldn't prove it. Now, how much this information coming in helped get him nailed now, I don't know. Also, at 83, he's not a deathbed confession, but he's an elderly man confession. And one of the questions will then be, why is he confessing at this point? Does he really feel guilty, which probably is not true? Is it that he's got Alzheimer's and doesn't know what the hell he's saying? I mean, they don't actually know at this point whether it's true what he's saying. They're believing it's true what he's saying. But this is a confession, and this is a guy they already knew who he was. So they did revisit the case, but they had to have something, a confession, for them to move forward with it. And so I've never been against revisiting a case. The cold case squad does that. That's their job. To revisit cases. Maybe they look at that case and say, we don't have DNA, but man, they said this guy did it. Here's some people, we should talk to them again. That's cool. My concern is more when people outside think that they're solving cases and putting out to the public that they're solving them, when, quite frankly, is not exactly so. So, but what good will come of this? Well, the family might get some closure. 83 years old. I mean, is he going to, by the time he goes through all the court system, he might not be even around to go to prison. And he's in prison now. I mean, maybe they say it's not worse than where he's at. Maybe he confessed because he wanted to go there. I honestly don't know. But the problem with cold cases is they should never have become cold. That this guy, if he committed this horrible crime, should never have been out there for 50 years. Carlos says, timing. He was a suspect in 1975. DNA was recognized by U.S. courts in 1986. Could they not have tested samples before now? The earlier DNA was not very effective, and you had to have a lot of it to even be able to analyze it properly. And over time, it went from here to here to here to touch DNA. I don't know what DNA they have. What kind of DNA is it? I honestly don't know. Do you have some people who say he did these bad things to them, and got more than one, so that kind of is interesting. Now, I've spoken a lot about people saying stuff years later, but these are children, and it makes this one makes more sense to me that they might be telling the truth. But that, again, there's not proof. He confessed. That's where the proof is coming in. If he didn't confess, the case would just be as cold as ever. Why he's confessing, I don't know. I mean, he theoretically could be confessing to a crime he didn't commit, although it looks like he probably did. Maybe it's just because he says, "What the hell?" Maybe he's getting a kick out of it. I don't know. But the confession is, without DNA, 50 years later, you're going to need that confession. They did their best. I mean, everything was so new back then. It's not fair to go back and say, why didn't they do this and that? I mean, all that science was so just brand new. So that's why they can go back. One of the advantages we have today is that back in those days, the killers never worried about leaving their DNA because they never thought it wasn't anything that even mattered. They might have been worried about blood type. But other than that, they're like, yeah, whatever. I can leave semen. I can drool on the kid. I can do whatever. But now what's happened is they can go back all those years if they've left DNA at the scene and get something that the killer never knew they could get. Nowadays, they're like, okay, I better use a condom. I better wash the body off. I better do this. I better do that, because they're aware of DNA now. So one of the reasons we're kind of having a heyday in closing very old cases is because back then, they had no idea they were leaving evidence. Once that time goes by, we're going to see less and less cases closed with DNA. Well, they might. That's a great defense. Yeah, that's a great defense. Why not? Now let's look at another case, which also came up recently. It's this guy. This guy also. He apparently had this. He married this wife in 1991, and she vanished. And later on, they found out his earlier wife also vanished, and and under very similar circumstances. Apparently, both of them went to Florida, and one carried a red suitcase and one carried a yellow suitcase. It's kind of okay. So anyway, let me find that. Let's see, where's that guy at? He is. Okay, just a second. I don't know when I opened all this other crap on here. I must have been playing around. Shouldn't do that before my shows. Where are you, buddy? I really did. I opened up a whole bunch of stuff. Oh, here we go. After a man's wife was reported missing, authorities uncovered a dark secret from his past. Fran Smith, that's this lady, vanished in 1991. Her husband's dark secrets began to emerge. In the 3 decades since, John Smith, this guy's John Smith, is now 73. He was convicted of killing his first wife in Ohio years earlier. In a murder authorities said they weren't even aware of until they began investigating Fran's disappearance. So they were investigating her, and they found out about her. And they went, oh, how do we overlook that? Okay. Fran's body has never been found. And by the way, I don't think he should have been convicted of this crime. Do I think he did it? Yes. Do I think he should have been convicted? No. Tell you what, Fran's body has never been found, which is okay. You don't have to always find the body, but you had to find other evidence. But prosecutors in New Jersey charged her husband in her death 5 years ago. Then the case took an unusual turn. Those same prosecutors dropped the murder charge against Smith in exchange for information her family and the FBI agent who spent years investigating the case has said was unreliable and unlikely true. They dropped charges. Okay, so retired FBI Special Agent Robert Hilland called out prosecutors for the arrangement. Yeah, a lot of times it's pretty disgusting that deals will be made to close cases. Some of the deals are complete lies. And other deals are just so unfair to the victims' families. It's sickening. All right. What did they do? Fran's sister said they hung our family out to dry. How did they do that? They defended their decision to dismiss the charge, with a spokesperson saying in the statement that because a judge blocked prosecutors from introducing key evidence, what remained would have allowed them to paint Smith as a bad husband but not a murderer, which, again, I don't think they can prove he's a murderer. Oh, I mean, 2 wives disappeared exactly the same way. But again, that ain't necessarily proof. So let's see. What happened? Let's go to what happened here. So the public defender's office negotiated an agreement. Okay. Fran, 49, that's this one, disappeared September 28th, 1991. The paralegal had recently moved from Florida to a condo in West Windsor, New Jersey with her new husband, John Smith, and was recovering from a broken hip. She was recovering from a broken hip. Okay. Smith, an engineer, told authorities that his wife abruptly left to visit relatives, according to this detective. The family said they haven't heard from her since, and they're trying to piece together what happened. All right. Decades earlier, he had eloped with Janice Elaine Hartman after high school. But the couple split in 1974 after only a few years. After tracking down a relative of Hartman's, the family learned an even more startling detail. Days after they divorced, Hartman disappeared and was never heard from again. The authorities believe she was a runaway and didn't pursue the case as a possible homicide. Smith offered strangely similar accounts and details in the disappearance of both wives. Okay, what did he say? He believed Hartman had gone to Florida with a red suitcase. And then when Fran disappeared, she went to Florida with a yellow suitcase. I don't know what obsession he has with Florida and suitcases, but hey, it's totally different. One suitcase was red, the other one was yellow. Right? When Fran disappeared, authorities discovered Smith had a longtime girlfriend and was living in a beach house that he owned in Connecticut. So they recalled that the girlfriend didn't know that Smith had been married twice, nor did she know that both women had disappeared. Well, she might want to not hang out with that dude, right? The girlfriend agreed to call Smith and to allow investigators to listen in and record the conversation. Now, this is good. This is an attempt to get a thing called evidence. What I've often said is, let's say when I was talking about all these men, these powerful men have been accused of rape and sexual assault without proof. I'm not saying they didn't do it. I'm just saying they got convicted without proof. They should have at least. And now, what is proof? Well, if you call up the guy and say, hey, and you got it recorded, I'm really pissed off that you raped me in 1990. And the guy says, well, yeah, I did rape you, but hey, I thought it was for your own good. Okay, that's proof. I'm good with that. But just to say he did it when there's no proof he did it and he didn't confess to doing it, got an issue. So anyway, they got this woman who didn't want to become missing woman number 3 to call him and see if she could get some info out of him. She confronted him about his relationship with Fran, according to the audio of the call, and asked if she was dead. Smith told her he didn't think so, but because he didn't know where she was, quote, they think that I must have hurt her. When she asked about Hartman, he said they divorced and he reported her missing. He said he only recently learned that she had never been found. When she asked if he lied during the police investigation, during the polygraph back then, he said, I failed it. Well, wait, John, did you lie during the test? He said, yes, I lied during the test. So then they suspected that he was responsible for the disappearance of his wives, but they didn't have proof. It wasn't until years later, after Hillen took over the investigation, that authorities got a break. Now, what was a break? Now, so far, they don't actually have bodies. They don't actually, well, at this point, they don't have bodies. They don't have proof. He said he lied during the polygraph, and that's why he failed it. But what did he lie about? And we don't know. Okay. All right. So now he had moved to suburban San Diego, was remarried, and was working for a car maker. In 1999, Hillen organized an effort with FBI agents to carry out some interviews. All right. During the interviews, let's see what happened here. Smith offered a hypothetical about two people having an argument, and one of them being fatally struck by a bus. Still not murder. Smith asked, is the other person responsible for murder? Hillen said, we said, no, that's an accident. That would not be murder. Is that what happened to Fran? He said, I don't know what happened to Fran. I just know she isn't dead. If she's dead, she's probably in heaven. Okay. He's full of crap, but okay. Smith told investigators she was having a heart attack during this interview, and the interview ended. But days later, the former investigator said Smith's brother shared something they didn't have previously. Okay, in an exchange for an agreement, that barred prosecutors from charging him, the sibling revealed that in 1974, he had seen Smith with a large plywood box in a garage next to his grandparents' house in Ohio. Smith was crying. Hillen recalled his brother saying that he was putting clothes that he believed belonged to Hartman in the box. The box, which had been nailed shut, remained in the garage for 5 years, until his grandfather pried it open, and they saw what appeared to be Hartman's remains inside the box. Now, let me stop. If that is the evidence they have, I was thinking of a different case before. If that's the evidence and they can find the body. Now, the story is really creepy. A brother tells that story about a body that remains being in the box and not just clothing. Can that be believed? All right, let's go on. So, the brother said what he saw happened to be Hartman's remains inside the box. Her legs had been removed, and her hair appeared to be rainbow colored, a detail authorities later attributed to clothing dye bleeding into her body. The discovery haunted the sibling for years, but he hadn't come forward because his grandfather had asked him to stay silent. I always love it when somebody says, oh, look, I found the body of my grandson's wife in the box, but hey, let's just keep quiet. All right. The grandfather said, if you call the sheriff, he's going to cause your grandmother to die. So basically he's saying that this will so upset grandma that she'll have a heart attack. So we'll just let this killer go on his way, even though we know he's a real creep. And maybe he'll kill other women. Grandpa, I don't like you, if that's true. All right. After the brother called Smith and told him he'd found the box, Smith arrived at the grandparents' house, put the box in the passenger seat of his Corvette and drove off. Now, first question I had, which is funny because I looked at this on Reddit and somebody said the same thing. How small was the box with her body parts in it? Because it's a Corvette. It's not a lot of room in the front seat. Later on, I read something, maybe it was actually in the trunk and the trunk was open. But I'm like, how small is that box? All right. After his revelation to the FBI, Smith's brother agreed to confront his sibling in the conversation, which was recorded. Smith described the box as a joke and said someone had dropped it off with a dead goat inside. At one point, the brother said, I had nightmares where Jan chased me down the road and beat me with her legs, John. All right, said Smith. Nearly a year later, remains were exhumed from a rural Indiana cemetery and positively identified as being the remains of Hartman. Years earlier, it turned out that a road crew had found the box described by Smith's sibling in a roadside drainage ditch, but the remains couldn't be identified and the body was buried in what Hillen called a Jane Doe grave. 6 months after the identification, Smith was charged with murder in Hartman's killing. He pleaded not guilty and was convicted at trial, sentenced to 15 years to life. Then the case falls apart. All right, so what happened here? Why does the case fall apart? I think that's the next wife case. Fran's body was never found. That's the other woman. So they dropped the murder charge on that. So this case, I would say, because they found the body, it looks to me as it is solved. It was a cold case that was solved. I'm not saying no cases can ever be solved, but they did find a body. And in a very unique way. This, again, was the police working on the case who were able to interview people and get that information from them. So I'm not, again, objecting to the police having a cold case squad, and they might look at this and go, we should talk to these people again. And they do. And they were able to identify the body eventually. And if they hadn't been able to identify the body, the story that the brother gave would not have been very useful. So yes, this is probably the closest one I've heard since I've asked people, send me in things that show that if you're working on cold cases, there's some point in it. And this one's pretty good, but it does involve finding the body. I've always pointed out, the body, DNA, or confession. And this one had the body. So the other one's confession, this one's the body. So I'm not saying there's no point in a cold case squad working on these things, but you got to have those things. And being on YouTube and coming to conclusions is not solving a case. I wish I could say the same. That's why when I said I don't work cold cases anymore with police departments, and it's because the cases I'm working on, I come to conclusions and they can't do anything with them because they don't have DNA. They don't have if they have a body, they've already been through that and it's not linking to anybody. They don't have evidence is the problem. You got to have evidence or a confession. And if you want to put out all your free time and not get paid for it and work hundreds of hours to come to a conclusion, that's fine. And the one way you can do that is do it on YouTube, because at least on YouTube you make money. If you can get people to get all involved in your trying to solve a case, you're making money from YouTube. You're not actually solving the case. That's why I point that out. Just because I'm a realist, and what I prefer, I prefer more money being given to police departments, more money going to training for detectives in the first 48, so that they can profile the crimes well themselves, or to have a profiler embedded so that most of these crimes are solved when you can still get the evidence. That's what I would prefer. And if we can't do that, if we're doing that as much as we can, if we want to give money to a cold case squad, give it to the cold case squad people. But still, it should be within the police department. Much as I would like to work with police departments on these things, I'm a realist. They're not going to bring in outside profilers. It's the way it works. So, but fascinating. So that was kind of cool. I mean, yeah. You thought you knew the case? Well, they did find, that's the first wife. That's the body they found, not the second wife. They found the first wife. Am I wearing foundation, or is it a camera? Look, I always wear makeup. I spend a whole 5 minutes putting on makeup just so I don't look like I'm in a casket myself. But sometimes there's weird lighting things and I can't see them all. And so sometimes I end up looking redder than I'd like to look or whatever. So, and they changed the software on my cameras were changed from really good software to really sucky software. You know how people like to improve things and then they don't improve them. I want to mention something about this just because it made me laugh. This has been a case. I'm not going to get into this case, but this is more of a celebrity garbage thing. And this is Clayton Echard, and this is the woman that's like stalking the living crap out of him. This is the Clayton Echard was on The Bachelor. He supposedly had a one-night fling with her. So this is the guy. He has this supposed one-night fling with her, allegedly just oral sex. Her name is Laura Owens. And 11 days later, he refuses to pursue a relationship with her, and she claims she's pregnant. And she drafted a dating contract to give to him, stating she would abort the baby if he agreed to date her. Who does that? That woman is flaming massive narcissism. And he refused. And so then she took him to court to establish a parenting plan for the babies, now twins, and sent upwards of 500 emails and texts to him, stalking like a son of a gun, from more than a dozen different accounts. If the woman is crackers, and in not a good way. I might even go from narcissism to psychopathy. She went public with the case in September when he still refused to date her. She claimed under oath that she is 24 weeks pregnant, I guess, and just saw her obstetrician a few days prior. They're both granted orders of protection against each other. As of December, she claimed she was no longer pregnant and sought to dismiss the court case. Because Clayton believed she fraudulently brought the situation to court and did not have evidence to prove she was actually pregnant with his children, he's seeking to be awarded attorney's fees. What a mess. But I'll point out one thing. I'm going to point out just one thing, and it just cracked me up because people are like, what do you think of this case? Okay, I think she's a freaking stalker. I think he needs to be as far away from her as possible. I think she's creepy as all get out and should never be on another TV show and should be shunned to some far place in the world. But this is what I found interesting. Okay, on April 3rd in 2023, Clayton Echard announces on Instagram he has become a real estate agent. Okay. On May 9th, Laura Owens creates an LLC account for the purpose of real estate and rental and leasing. So she's really stalking the dude. And then somewhere in May, Owens reaches out to Clayton Echard on LinkedIn for a real estate assistance. May 20th, the two meet in person for the first time. The two have an intimate encounter, which Echard describes as only oral sex. The following day, Echard tells Owens that the hookup was a mistake. He's already thinking that woman's somebody I don't need to be around. May 21st, Clayton makes his intentions clear that he does not want to pursue a relationship with her. He apologizes for crossing a personal boundary. She breaks down in tears because she just met the freaking dude a couple days ago. Like, I got to be with you. She breaks down in tears and refuses to accept it. She asks to have him continue to be her realtor. So this woman, she's a scary person. If you meet a guy and you have to fall apart because you went on one date with him and wanted him to be a realtor and you can't, the girl's not a dog, okay? She can get dates galore. She's good looking. She can go out and get more dates. She can get another realtor. Why the heck is she obsessed with this guy so quickly? The woman has, okay. Now, so she's all bent out of shape on May 21st. On May 22nd, she tells Echard she cannot continue to have him be a realtor if he doesn't want to pursue a relationship. You can't find me a house if you aren't my boyfriend. He consistently tells her he will assign her to another realtor, but she will not accept. May 25th, Echard asks Owens to leave him alone, informing her he is considering contacting the police. He blocks her phone number. On June 1st, 11 days after their intimate encounter, Owens emails Echard a photo of her first positive pregnancy test. June 17th, 3 weeks later, Echard purchases a pregnancy test and asks Owens to take it in front of him to confirm the pregnancy. She goes to the bathroom and the result comes out positive. Okay, I'll stop right here. What do you note is interesting and at that moment in time? Somebody tell me. This is their profiling lesson for today. All right. He never had sexual relations with that woman, no. Okay, what do you notice? What comes to mind? I'm going to sit here and have a little soda. These are all interesting points. Guy rejection, call me. Okay, the woman's crackers. We know that. What else? Glenn Close. Fetal Sarah, who was really Sarah, Alex. Fetal attraction. I love it. That's the great line of tonight. I love it. Absolutely love it. Love it. Ah, Carla. He says they only had oral sex, so why the test? What? Yes, saying she took a test, is claiming that he did not have just oral sex with her. But why would a guy who knows he only had oral sex with her need her to prove she wasn't pregnant? I'm going to say Clayton has a wee bit of a problem. He is a liar. He had sex with that woman. He did. That's the only reason he would ask her to do a pregnancy test. I mean, I can't imagine. Look, I know I kissed you, but take this pregnancy test and see, what is he, a 12-year-old? And like, oh my God, that might have caused pregnancy? Yeah, you can still get preggo. Okay, we could get into all kinds of very rare scientific methodologies for that. But quite frankly, unless she gave him a certain, I'm trying to figure out what I can say on YouTube. There's a store and a restaurant called BJ's, one of those. And then she kept that and then implanted it in herself. That is possible. But he should not be thinking of that unless that's exactly what he said. He should not be thinking of that. So I think that's nonsense. I think he had sex with her and he doesn't want to admit it because he doesn't want to think, oh my God, something could have happened because he didn't use a condom, because a lot of guys don't. And she might have set him on the pill, but or have an IUD, whatever people say. But I'm always amazed. I'm like, the blame is to go on both sides, because if that's not somebody you're married to and you're not wanting to have a baby with, both of you need to do something about protection. I mean, it's pretty basic. And I would say double protection, anything you can possibly do on both sides. I'd say stop having sex with women you hardly know. But hey, that's old fashioned. But yeah, I think he had sex with her. That's the problem. And he was hoping like hell she wasn't pregnant. How do I explain the positive results? Well, there's ways to get positive results. Okay, there are, but suddenly the babies didn't happen, and the woman is not to be believed. She could have gone all through that, but see, he wasn't saying that, and it's the way he just says, "I want you to do a pregnancy test and do it in front of me." To me, indicates unless there was a whole big speech prior to that, I think he had sex with her and just didn't want to admit it. So a lot of guys will just say, oh yeah, we didn't do that. And hoping that she's just not pregnant. So yeah, take the pregnancy, but I didn't do that with you. And hoping that when it comes back negative, he says, see, I told you I didn't have sex. I said we didn't have sex. I find that just a very strange statement. Yeah. Oh, we don't know she was even pregnant. I mean, the poor girl, the poor girl. Yeah, poor girl. That's exactly what I think, Carla. He's admitting it. That I find it hard to believe that he was thinking that she had done something. I mean, you got to admit that, well, because the woman is crackers, but usually they on the first time they had sex, think about this. If you're in a relationship with somebody and the woman's going, you're a dude, you're with this woman, and she's like, oh, man, can't we have a baby? And he's like, no, I don't want one. I'm going to use a condom every time. And she keeps pushing it. And then one day she says, I'm pregnant. He's like, but I used a condom. I would want to know whether that condom she pulled out of a trash can and did something with it. I'd want to know whether she found some way to get your sperm into her, right? But this was a first date. It's hard to believe that just they had a fun first date. And he said, well, I shouldn't have done it because they were getting together for something else. And I just ended up doing something. I have a hard time believing she had that much of a plan when she hardly knew the guy. Now, after she liked the guy and she's like, oh, I really want to be with this guy. And she's playing him. I would believe she would do something like that down the line. I just have a problem believing she did it the very first time they ever did anything together. Possible, but very unlikely. So I think he had sex with her. So, yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I'm not saying you can't get pregnant. Yes, you can get pregnant with a condom, which is why I say use two things. If you don't want to get pregnant, I say you better be on the pill and use a condom. Be on the pill and use foam and an IUD. I don't know. Use like 500 different methodologies. But anytime you have sex with somebody you don't want to have a baby with, you're taking a risk. So if you're going to take that risk, lower the chances like massively. I mean, a lot of people don't do it because they get carried away and do stupid stuff. I mean, people do. But then, I'm not saying it. You can't. You can get pregnant on the pill even if you took the damn thing every damn day. All I'm saying is if I were a dude and I'm going to have sex with a woman, I'm definitely going to use a condom just to make absolutely sure, even though that isn't perfect. And personally, I really don't want to have sex with I'm old-fashioned in that because I don't want to bring a kid into the world that the mother is a crackpot. If I were a guy, I'd be scared to death of that. And as a female, I'm scared to death of that too. I don't want to end up with a baby with somebody I just want to have a good time with one night. Because once that happens, if that baby is born, you're stuck with that father or mother of that baby for the rest of your life. Your child is stuck with that person you don't even like for the rest of the life. You got to leave your little baby girl with some guy you just screwed one night. And you're thinking, I don't trust that guy. You got to leave your child with him. I mean, to me, that is terrifying. Terrifying. And I mean, when my kids were growing up, I must have given them the lecture, I don't know how many times, because I was scared that they would screw up one day. Scared of that because I just don't get stuck with a baby with somebody you don't want to be their parent, because you're giving that child a bad future, and you're going to have to deal with the pain you're going to have to suffer that way, because leaving your child someplace that you don't trust where you're leaving that child. And it happens in divorce. Divorce sucks for that reason too. Here you were happily married for whatever, 5 years, and then all hell goes to hell. Then you get divorced, and here you are, you got a little kid, and that little kid goes over to the other parent's house, and they bring in some boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever, and your child is stuck with them. That's why step parents are often dangerous. Not that they're all bad people, but hey, you can't control what happens at the other house. Sebastian Rogers, the dad, is really upset. Why? Because his ex-wife had Chris Proudfoot, for a husband. Maybe she wasn't too great either, but still, what a mess. what a mess. I mean, anyway. Oh, speaking of Sebastian Rogers, I was asked this question. What about the photograph that somebody has out there that says it's clearly Sebastian Rogers? And I will not show the photograph. It's all over the place, and a lot of YouTubers, including professionals, are showing this photograph. Why won't I show it? Because the police have not come forward and said this is a photograph of Sebastian Rogers. I don't know if it's AI. I don't know if it's some kid who just looks like it. The photo seems like if it were taken now, there's trees behind them that don't have any leaves, so it doesn't make any sense for this time of the year. I have no proof it's Sebastian Rogers, and I will not put the picture out there and say, oh, what do you think? Do you think it's Sebastian Rogers? Oh my God, it could be Sebastian Rogers. My belief is, first of all, that picture also shows him just hanging out at a public location. Now, Sebastian Rogers seems to have had a very good relationship with his father. And I can't believe for a minute that if Sebastian Rogers was that able to wander around and just hang out, he wouldn't go and say, look, call my father. My father's out there going insane because he thinks I'm dead. I can't believe he would do that. So, and if he ran away, I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't believe the photo is accurate or real. I don't believe it's Sebastian Rogers. Personally, I don't think Sebastian Rogers is alive. It's hard to believe he's alive unless somebody has hidden him away somewhere. But, why he would, quote, leave the house on his own accord and then just be able to disappear for so long, it's hard for me to believe. I don't think he's alive. He could not take care of himself. He didn't have the wherewithal or the money to take care of himself. He would have to be held by somebody or cared for by somebody. And who would that somebody be? I don't, none of it makes sense to me. So personally, I don't think he's alive. I'd like to believe he's alive, but I don't feel comfortable with that to say he is. And that picture, that photo, I'm not going to put it out there and start pushing. Oh, let's look, he's alive. Drives me nuts. Yeah, it could have been a generated image. I don't know. I'm not able to determine that, but just not feeling comfortable putting it out there and saying there's any validity to it. So, you're disappearing on me? Bye-bye, Sarah. Are you talking about what's her face? Oh, yeah. Well, she's a piece of work. I mean, she might be pushing right into the old psychopath category. I just find his statement, it was amusing. I think he had sex with her and he's like, oh my God, I might be so screwed. Might be so screwed. Yes, it was supposedly in North Carolina. So what? So what? I mean, do we really think that they hid him with her mom? That's and because the father is in the picture, that would be 100% kidnapping. I don't think there's any proof that this picture has any validity, and I will not go out and promote it because I don't know. When the police come out and say the photo is legit, well, then we'll have another conversation. But I don't have any evidence of this. Who's that? Oh, I was asked to talk about the let me find this. This story it's an old story, and I was asked about the Summerfield Six. They're a lovely crew. They're a lovely group. The Summerfield Six on 2011, Seth Jackson, that would be that guy. He's 15 years old. He was lured to a house by his ex, Amber Wright. And this is Amber and Michael Bargo. That's his ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend. And that's also what he looks like. He's a piece of work, too. Anyway, he was lured to a house by his ex, Amber Wright, where he was tortured and shot several times before his body was burned in a fire pit and disposed of in a rock quarry. He was so the question comes, they got them all. They were all prosecuted. They all went to prison. That's not the issue. In spite of the fact they did a really good job of trying to get rid of the body, they still screwed up. Basically because the brother, I forgot which one, maybe her brother said, hey, look what they did. I'm trying to find the rest of the story here. Okay, here's Amber Wright. Amber Wright. She was sentenced to life in prison a second time for the Summerfield murders. So apparently what happened was this. 5 young people lured Seth, I don't know how you pronounce his name, to a Summerfield home where they beat him, shot him, and burned his body in a backyard fire pit. Law enforcement authorities recovered Seth's remains days later in paint buckets dumped in a nearby quarry. Mm-hmm. Yeah, such nice kids. Where 2 of the 5 co-defendants had disposed of them the day after the murder. So what's the point? The assistant state attorney said that the murder was an escalation of animosity between Seith and Wright, who had broken up on poor terms, and between Seith and another co-defendant, Michael Bargo. That's the guy, right? The ex-girlfriend was not dating. That's basically it. You got a bunch of kids. Bargo was over at 18, but you got the other ones were underage, and they decided to kill this young man brutally. Now, this is a comment that the girl made after the fact. Amber said to her friends after they'd been caught, "If I get 5 years for this, I'll be 20 when I get out." 5 years for premeditated homicide. All right. She's in, I think, for life. But some people will say these teenagers' brains have not formed properly. And that's why they did this. All right. So the question isn't that they did it, they did, but why? Why would this little rabid group of kids do this horrific thing? To think of doing that, it's unbelievable. But we have many cases where you have a group, even sometimes just a group of girls, brutally murder somebody and get a kick out of it. And you wonder, how the heck could they think that way? What would bring them to that point? Well, pretty much there's no good answer for that. I have to just be honest. There's no really good answer for that. Is every one of the kids a psychopath? Does every one of the kids have something amiss in their life? I'll go with that. I would say there's probably a leader psychopath, and then there's those that have something amiss. And one thing is true for teenagers, and I recognize this because a lot of times I'll look back in time and I'll try to remember what it was like when I was a teen. And I have these flashes of memory. And some of the flashes of memory are kind of interesting. They're like I remember the first kiss in my life. I was at a summer camp. I was working with blind children. And there was another counselor there. I think I was, 16, because in those days things were slower. He might have been 17. We had gone to have our lunches. We were sitting down, and he leaned over and kissed me. Now, mind you, this was a kiss. We're not talking about a long kiss of any sort. We're talking about he just kissed my lips quickly, long enough that I felt his lips. And I remember that my lips burned, literally felt like they were burning. And my whole body was like on fire. And I felt the heat. And I didn't even know how to respond because that was unexpected. And of course, he kind of just smirked because I kissed you, and I had never been kissed even that way. And so I was like stunned. But I remember the amount of energy in my body. And if anybody remember back when you're that young, when you're kissing or touching somebody when you're young, it's extraordinary. It's an extraordinary feeling in comparison to what you feel later, which is much more muted and much more, all right, better do it well. Yeah, work hard. It's like you have a whole different thing because you don't have the hormone thing racing through. There's that transition time, which is when they say teens will do stupid stuff. They'll do dangerous stuff. They're very excitable. They take things to heart. They get very emotional. All kinds of things happen as a teen. So I recognize that fact, that kind of stuff is whirring through the heads of teens. Now, depending on who the teens get involved with is how much the whirring whirs, shall we say. In a healthy environment, healthy home, there's the whirring, but the whirring is controlled. And the whirring is put to something more useful. Like maybe they're excited that they're working a new job, or maybe they ride horses and they're in a horse jumping competition. Something that excitement goes to something relatively healthy. But when you have children in messed up homes, messed up schools, messed up neighborhoods, where basically it's kind of like, when you're down, if you're in certain countries or certain places in the US where gangs are out of control, you have people who are from homes that suck drawn into those gangs, because while the worrying is going on, the excitement draws them in, and then that whirs together with other people, and they become part of that big machine that somehow loses the ability to, I would say, right and wrong get a little bit blurry. They have no family they really give a crap about, and the family probably doesn't give that much of a crap about them. So that to them, they've almost gone into a state where, an animalistic state, shall we even say, where doing certain things is exciting and it doesn't matter. The other person does become expendable. When your life sucks, and you don't see future, when you don't have good things to do, all you're looking for is cheap thrills and attention, and other people become expendable. Now, mind you, to get to that point, usually there's something really wrong with you to get to that point. And why a person gets to that point, and that, who do you blame? And then will they ever get past that point? This is what a lot of times the psychologists will say. It's like, oh, well, that person did that horrible thing, but if they were 30 years old now, they wouldn't think that way. And once they go to prison and they get, like Gypsy Rose Blanchard, for example, there's a lot of people hate the heck out of her. She was truly imprisoned by her psychopathic Munchausen syndrome mother. She was in prison and controlled for the majority of her life. And she broke free by, well, some people say using. I think Nick was a psychopath, and he sought her out, and she found it with somebody who could help her out of that situation, because she didn't think she could get out of it another way. Now, does that mean she's healthy emotionally? Not necessarily. If she's away from that, can she become a normal, healthy person? I don't know. So yes, there's certain people who commit sometimes you think a horrific crime as a teenager or a child, and if they go to prison for long enough, or a mental institution, whatever, juvenile facility, will they be able to become normal? A lot of it depends how psychopathic they were when they committed the crime, or whether they were sort of pulled in with that energy and were unable to determine right. They know right and wrong. Kids know right and wrong. Murdering people is wrong. Murdering people's pets is wrong. Stealing is wrong. They know this, but they can justify a lot of things, where when things stop mattering, then they can justify it doesn't really. So what? It gets very complicated. And it's one of the reasons we, hopefully in society, work hard to prevent this kind of thing from happening. I don't know what kind of guy the victim was either. So I'm not victim blaming, but maybe he was a pretty shitty dude himself. Maybe he was the same kind, and he just ended up on the wrong end of that whole fiasco. Don't know. Hold on. Hello, cat. My cat is here. I'm going to feed you, but I don't have the food out yet, cat. I don't have the food yet. Can you come back later? Oh, man. Now my cat's walking toward my room. My cat. Yeah. Should I try to feed him? Hold on 1 second. Are you going to run away, or can I put the food down? I'm trying to sneak out here because he's very. You want me to put the food down? I didn't have a chance yet. No, I don't have a chance yet. Are you just going to go out? Okay. Can you come back later? I want to feed you. He's mad because he came in and there was no food there, but it's early and doesn't usually come in until 10 o'clock at night. I'll feed you in a little. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to put food down just in case he comes back. Kitty, kitty. Kitty, kitty. Food. See if he comes back. My new cat, mackerel. But anyway, that's just kind of just thoughts I had on that. It's a strange situation, and we don't have all the answers. People want us to have all these easy answers. And before I end the show, I want to point this out. Where is he? Oh no! Oh, here we go. I was looking up Stanton Samenow the other day. He's one of my favorite guys. He wrote that book, Inside the Criminal Mind, one of my favorite books of all time. And I found out he died last year, and I was really sad about that. Stanton Samenow is one of the psychologists I absolutely believe is one of the most brilliant guys on psychopathy. Worked at St. Elizabeth's Hospital in Washington, D.C., wrote that great book, Inside the Criminal Mind. And that's one of the books I always recommend. I was on a show one day, and the thing was about snapping. If somebody snaps and does something. And I said, nobody just actually snaps. That's something that's already in their mind, and this has just become the moment where they feel they can do it, or they feel a need to do it. And I came home that night from speaking out, and I saw his name come up about your show, about what you said on the show from Stanton Samenow. And I thought, oh my God. A lot of times I get that from other professionals or from FBI profiles, and you're completely wrong. You're an idiot because you're, whatever. Crazy grandma, like Ken Main said. And he came in and said, thank you for your refreshing, you're a breath of fresh air that you have said this on national TV. And I was like, oh my God. And so we agreed on a lot of things. And I just found him to be the most realistic psychologist I've ever come across as far as the issue of psychopathy goes and of the criminal mind. So if you ever want to read a great book, that's the one, Inside the Criminal Mind. And I'm sad we lost him last year. I had no idea. I liked him. I really did. He was a great guy. All right. Now you're worried about the cat. Oh, you're so mean. I'm worried about a cat that would adopt Pat, to be honest. Hey, wait a minute now. I have been a human owner of cats. All my cats live to very old ages. They get to run around outside because I do not have inside cats. I've always had a cat door. My cats have a great time. They live full lives, and I've had them for so many years, but I was not going to get another cat. When Ziggy died, and he was probably 17 years old or something. When Ziggy died, I decided I was not going to get any more pets right now because I wanted the freedom to be able to travel again. And I had made a decision where I was going to live and all this stuff. And so I don't know why I'm encouraging this cat to come in and become my cat. That's really a bad idea. Oh, a good question, Carla. Is that book science and professional heavy, or is it easy to understand by laypersons? Great book for laypersons. It's so fascinating because he explains his real life experiences. Like he goes to St. Elizabeth's Hospital and he gets completely manipulated about some of these psychopaths there. And he is so. This is what I love about him. I'm a believer in being very, very easy to understand. I don't like using a lot of fancy words because a lot of times people use them. And after you're finished reading all that crap, you're like, and what were you trying to say? And I'm like, if you can't say it, oh, he came back. Hello, honey. Hi, sweetie. See, I gave you some food. Yeah. Go eat the food. He's back. Oh, he's my new kitty cat. So I take a picture. No, Mackerel, I don't want a new cat. Why do I have a new cat? You can't really see him. Oh, you can't even see him in here. It's too dark. No, you can't see him. He's crunching away over now. I put some dry food in the bowl because I didn't have time to do the wet food. It's coming in. I'm sitting right here. Anyway, yes, he's I need to focus on the job at hand. Yeah, I get easily distracted because it's a hangout. Well, I do that during all my shows, but I like something. If you can't explain it in a simple way to people, my opinion is maybe there's a problem with that because you should be able to explain things in a more, in an easier way. Now, it's a lot of people like to write dissertations and very, very word heavy books when they do their academic crap. And okay, that's fine in academia. But once you leave academia and you want to explain something to the public, stop using all the fancy stuff. But a lot of people use a lot of fancy stuff because it makes them look smart. I find it sometimes, it's interesting. I've read stuff that, how can I explain it? I have read some stuff that's very academic, which I approve of, and it's very good. But I've also read stuff which I don't think needed to be saying what they said, but it was only being used that way to make you impressed that they knew what they were talking about. So that's the question. So it's a little more complicated. Who's the audience you're trying to reach? And are you just trying to impress them with the big words to make people think you know what you're talking about? Or does that serve a purpose? So I'll put it like that. There is a great, Julia, I love it. If you can't explain it in a simple way, you don't understand it yourself. I think this is true. And this is what I've said about profiling, and which is why I'm the profiler who's not popular with many other profilers. If you give a profile and can't explain how you came to that profile, you're just making that stuff up because you don't have an answer. I will explain everything I come to in my profile. Now, I'm not necessarily right, but at least I can explain it to you. When I say that I believe Madeleine McCann came to an accidental death on May 2nd, on May 3rd, not May 2nd, May 3rd, I can explain exactly why. Not just, I'm a profiler and therefore you should believe me. No, because foreign detective, when he comes out with his real name, but foreign detective says it's May 2nd. Now, what I want from foreign detective is, I know some of its explanations so far. I don't know that I agree with them, but he's at least explaining it. I appreciate that. At least explain where you're coming from. If you can't explain it, then you don't understand it. You're just making it up. I love that. That's very good. Let's see. Welcome to my life at uni. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Oh my Lord. Amazon website says a newly revised edition was published in 2022. I guess that was before he died. So sad. Let me see. Not psychotic. They can be psychopathic. It's quite true that cats have a lot of psychopathic behaviors. In other words, they like to use people, and you think that they love you, but they're really manipulating you, right? Cat, new cat who's eating in my kitchen. Yeah. I think, oh my God, the cat loves me. No, the cat is finding food. No, there will be no 8 kitties here. Don't do that to me. No, I'm hoping it's a guy. I'm hoping it's a boy cat just so I don't accidentally end up with kittens. I did that one. My kids were young. I did kitten stuff. I don't want to do kitten stuff again. Really, I don't. Never again. Let me see if there's anything else I want to talk about before I let you all go. One more thing. I want to do this. I keep forgetting to do stuff. Yeah, well, anyway, I'll end with this because it's kind of just amused me. This guy, where are you, dude? Okay, this guy, a 57-year-old man was charged with 7 armed robberies in Prince George's County, Maryland. Now, here is this guy. He's got a little beard and everything. And, I looked at this when it just happened. This just happened near me, right? It's in my county. And the guy's like, hi, kitty, you leaving now? Shall you come back tomorrow? Yeah? Want to come back tomorrow? I can do that. Yeah. I know there's no wet food, but I don't have time yet. I could put it out later tonight, but will you come to the bedroom and get? Maybe? Okay. He keeps looking at me. It's like he wants me to put more food down, but he also looks very nervous. So, you see, now you're going to run. Okay. I might put more food down later. Okay. So this 57-year-old guy, and they're like, oh, what caused him to commit these crimes? Maybe he was hungry. Maybe he was desperate because, he couldn't get Social Security yet. Somehow when they put 57, everybody's like, why would a 57-year-old man commit such crimes? Well, so I went online and I looked him up. This is his record. He was in prison a lot. And he was in prison for a long time for, guess what? Armed robbery. Mm-hmm. And this, of course, was the final one he committed here. His name is Victor Glascoe. And he, in 2024, 420, he got nailed for, yet again, armed robbery. But, you wonder, why is this guy out on the street? Well, I don't know why he's out on the street, but it's not surprising that he committed another armed robbery. Oh, could it be Glasgow? I guess. This is a funny little statement he made in one of his appeals. I just thought this was cracked me up. So the officer said, hey, you come up here. Glasgow walked up to the porthole. I don't know what that means. Where Glasgow and Officer Sowers conversed. At his deposition in his affidavit, Glasgow recalled that Officer Sowers said, what are you, a dummy or something? Glasgow replied, man, look, my mama ain't raised no dummies. I'm going to say, yes, your mama did. Because you keep getting arrested. And at 57 years old, you're still committing crimes. And you keep getting arrested. Because you did. In this day and age, almost everybody wears a mask. What the heck is wrong with you, stupid? Because you can walk into a 7-Eleven with a mask on these days and nobody stops you. But you walked in without a mask on? You are a dummy. I think that's pretty funny. So I'm looking for my cat. My cat. So anyway, I thought that was, like, sometimes you just wonder. No, some of you are, the story that I'm doing on this weekend is going to be the Asunto case. It's from Spain, and I don't know why you watch the dub version. On Netflix, it was in Spanish. I won't watch dubbed unless it serves a purpose. I watch in the original language, and it's got English subtitles. So I'm not sure what the heck that happened. Yes. This is the time, and for those of you who are in Sydney, I wouldn't get up at 3:00 in the morning either. But I put it at 1:00 because I wanted people in Europe, like Spain, to be able to watch the show. So it'll be 7:00 for them. So, I move things around as much as I can. But a very interesting story. A very interesting story of the Sinter case. And I have a lot of, the motive of the case is very interesting and very, very confusing. So that's what I'm going to get into. So yes. What did I just say it was? Oh no, 1:00 on Saturday. Sorry. It's going to be 1:00 on Saturday. I'm trying to work around my granddaughter's schedule. 4:00 horse riding lessons, and on Sunday, soccer game. So I got to get these things correct. So anyway, but yes, it'll be 1:00. And check out my deception thing tomorrow. Not deception detective. Foreign detective. Foreign detective. I'll have that out early morning for the UK. So I could never understand the motive, and that's what makes it so interesting, Julia. It is very bizarre. You have more Aussie fans than in Europe. That may be true, but when I do a Europe case, I just feel like I should be a little nice to people in Europe. So sorry. And then keep sending me the Australian cases and New Zealand cases. I do really enjoy them, and I just did Easy Street Murders, so. Yeah, that was a great case. But I try to move it around enough times so everybody gets a chance to come to a live show and not have to get up in the middle of the night. But except for Japan and India, y'all just can't. You can't. There's just no way in hell. I've tried there's just no way. You're in the worst time zone ever. So it never works, no matter what. So it's unfortunate. So. I haven't said it was a way to watch. Oh, no, it's a terrible way to watch. Everybody said that dubbing and that was dreadful. So try to see it with Spanish with English subtitles. But it's very well done. It's it's semi-fictionalized, but they have great actor and actress playing the role of the mother and father of the daughter, and I think it was extraordinarily well acted, and I was not bored, and I found it fascinating, and yeah, really well done. So kudos to them on that. So anyway, all right. How about a Canadian case? I do them all the time. I got a lot of Canadian cases I've done. So you can always throw me another Canadian case. The way I deal with things is not so much where it comes from, but how interesting it is and whether I can analyze it. I just did, what was the Canadian case I just did from the Highway of Tears? I just did, I did that. So yeah, I'll do Canadian cases. I'll do cases from all over the world. I've done Japanese cases. I've done Mexican cases. I've done, I said, everyone. Doesn't matter to me. What is important is that it's something I can actually do something with. Because a lot of people say, "Oh, what about this case?" I'm like, "Yeah, well, it's either solved and there's nothing that interesting about it." I mean, again, if I were a storyteller, life would be a lot easier. Because it wouldn't matter because I'm telling a story. So I wouldn't have to analyze anything. I'd just be telling a great story. I'd make a fortune. But I don't just do stories. So it has to be something that really is interesting. Last week was Lululemon. That was a solved case, but it was a fascinating solved case. So yeah, always send things to me. I put them on my list. I forget about them a lot of times. I go back and look at them. And so you can always keep harassing me. And eventually I might do that if it is a case that has some merit to it. So, yeah. So, anyway. Oh, great show. I have no idea what we've talked about. Well, isn't that nice? I'm glad I have such an influence. 2 hours or whatever. By the way, as an interesting thing you can do with the cases, you said this. This is funny. Wait a minute. No, wait a minute. Where'd it go? I watch with subtitles. I love my French and German shows. Yeah. One other thing I've noticed, I'm studying Hindi. And so sometimes what I do is I watch a show from another country that's actually dubbed in Hindi. And these days, for odd reasons, they're doing it way better, generally speaking, than they used to. So I can actually work on my Hindi language in spite of the fact it's actually a Korean show. I have English subtitles, but the Koreans are all speaking Hindi. I also do that with Indian shows where there's lots of languages in India, and it might be Tamil, it might be Telugu, it might be Bengali, it might be Punjabi. But I'm trying to study Hindi, so I just don't want to listen to all the other ones. But they have a really good show. So I just watched a whole crime show. It was really good. And it was Tamil, but I watched it with Hindi audio. And so I got to practice my Hindi. And it matched perfectly. I don't know how they did it. It was really good. So you can do weird things can be done these days, much more so than used to be. Oh, I'm glad you were here, Linda, and I'm glad you had a good time. That's nice. Yeah, Madison Scott was yes, that was the case. My last Canadian one. So, oh, aren't you nice, Carla? And yes, this group is great. I did the Japanese, with the storytelling lady. I don't know. I did the Japanese toilet case. That was a really fantastic case. Bizarre. Really bizarre case. So yeah, if you haven't seen the Japanese toilet case, do check that out. I don't know. The storytellers, they're pretty good at doing almost everything. It's just that they have less to worry about. They can do anything, and as long as it's interesting to people of how it went down and who were the victims and what the bad guy did, they can tell a story, and then they'll end up with 2 million subscribers. But my thing is analysis and education. So, I have a much smaller amount of cases I can work with to make it a show that I want to do and serves the purpose of this channel. So, yeah, one day if I just want to make $1 million, I'll change up. I'll become the storyteller. But put the English subtitles on. There's some really great stuff out there. I've recommended quite a few Hindi language films because they're just so darn good. especially the crime area. Just some of them have been great. And also it's fascinating sometimes to see how crimes are handled in other countries. There was a whole thing, I think it was called Delhi crime. And it was based on, Delhi, India. And it was really interesting because they do things differently. And when you watch the Asunta case, my God, does Spain do different things differently than the US? And quite frankly, it freaked me out, the way they handle things. They actually take, just as a last thing to say here, which I keep saying, they actually take the suspect to the crime scene. And they take the suspect to the places that they're searching, like their houses and stuff, and they make them stand there while they search everything. And they ask them questions. That is something very unique. And it really, they're trying to basically cause the suspect to answer questions and freak out while they're doing it. They're looking for the responses and all that. I almost found it abusive, horrific, especially if you weren't guilty. They were being taken and put through these just awful things. I was shocked. So that's something that's very different. And something else you'll see different in like the Indian culture, which cracks me up, is a lot of times when they're bringing in a suspect, they don't put handcuffs on the guy. They actually hold his hands. They actually have an officer on either side, and they literally hold hands with the guy and take him in holding hands. And I saw that and I thought, is this the way it really works? And it does really work that way, except under rare circumstances, they'll actually hold hands of the suspect and just walk them in. In the US, we will always handcuff the crap out of them. So it's fascinating to see how things are done around the world. So I often enjoy looking at documentaries or reenactments, good fictionalized versions of things from different countries, because you see how they do things in their court system and in the police system, and how how the media reacts there and how the citizens react. And in the Asunta case, the media is horrific. I mean, I absolutely, truly appalled. And I wasn't too thrilled about the citizens either. I mean, it was unbelievable. But that is sort of a Spanish thing. and some people from Spain here, they can answer that, but it's very interesting. Okay, all right. Oh yes, Carla Homolka. She did. Well, the Canadian justice system allowed her to screw them. And yes, she is remarried under a different name and has children. And I think she also does stuff with like the PTA, and she's a serial killer. Unbelievable. They let her. Yeah, I did a show on her too. So Paul Bernard and Carla Homolka, I did a whole show on them. Another Canadian case. See, I do them. Okay, that's it. Time to go. All right, I will see you here if you're coming here on Saturday, 1 p.m. EST for the Asunta case. I got a lot of thinking still to do myself on that case as to why. What happened to this girl? Why did it happen to this girl? So see you then. And if you're new to the channel, you're still hanging around, do subscribe to the channel, click the bell, like the video, check out my playlist, yada, yada. See you soon. Bye.